Hello everyone and welcome to today's reading. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is incredibly windy where I live, and you can actually hear my house sort of rocking a little bit back and forth, so my apologies for that. Behind me I have the cover for today. This is from the Ukraine. I remember getting an email from the editor there, and she was so excited about the book, and you love that as an author when an editor is really excited about bringing it to the folks who live in their country. So thank you to the folks in the Ukraine and welcome to the cafe. All right, we are on chapter 18. We are closing in on the end of the story here. So starting with chapter 18, John has just learned a bit from Casey and Mike regarding how you discover your personal PFE. And he's going to continue a bit of that discussion with Mike. All right, chapter 18. John, where were you headed when you stopped in here? Mike asked as Casey walked away from the table. I'm starting my vacation. It felt like I needed some time away from everything, an opportunity to think, even though I didn't specifically know what I wanted to think about. I have to say, I glanced at my watch, the last 8 hours, I've gotten some pretty good ideas for that. Mike, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? Not at all. What is it? I looked at him. What made you ask the question on the menu? Mike sat back and a smile crept onto his face. What makes you so sure I have? You, your demeanor, this place? I don't know for sure, but I get the feeling you're doing exactly what you want to be doing. I assume you asked the question at some point, and this place is the result. Mike smiled again and took a sip from his mug. A number of years ago, I was living a pretty hectic life. I was going to graduate school at night, working full-time during the day, and filling every other minute training for and trying to make it as a professional athlete. For 2.5 years, almost every moment of my life was scheduled. When I graduated, I quit my job and took the summer off, since I'd already lined up a new job that would start at the beginning of September. A buddy of mine and I decided to go down to Costa Rica to celebrate our respective graduations. He had just completed school also. We spent weeks traveling around the country, hiking through rainforests, seeing wildlife, getting immersed in a new culture. Then one day we were sitting on a log eating fresh mangoes and watching the waves crash against this unbelievably beautiful beach. We'd spent the afternoon body surfing in the 85-degree water, and we're relaxing and watching the sky turn from brilliant blue to pink, orange, and red as the sun began to set. That sounds pretty spectacular, I said. It was, and I remember looking out at the entire scene and coming to the realization that while I had been planning every minute of my life for the last 2.5 years, this scene had been repeating itself every day. Paradise had been just a few hours plane flight and some dirt roads away, and I didn't even know it existed. And I realized not only had it existed for the 2.5 years I was so busy, but the sun had been setting there and the waves had been crashing on that beach for millions, if not billions of years. As that realization came over me, I felt pretty small. My problems, the things I'd stressed about, my worries about the future, all seemed completely unimportant. I knew no matter what I did or didn't do during my life, whether my decisions were right, wrong, or somewhere in the middle, all this would be going on long after I was no longer alive. I sat there, faced with the unbelievable beauty and grandeur of nature, and the realization that my life was an infinitesimal piece of something much bigger. Then I was struck by the thought, so why am I here? If all the things I thought were so important really aren't, then what is? What's my purpose for existing? Why am I here? Once I had those questions in my head, I went through something similar to what Casey described to you. They were always with me until I figured out the answers. I sat back in my seat. I hadn't realized it, but as Mike was speaking, I was leaning forward to catch every part of what he was saying. Thanks, Mike. That's an amazing story. Life is an amazing story, John. It's just that some people don't realize they're the author, and they can write it however they want. Mike got up from the table. I'm gonna head back and start cleaning up the kitchen a bit. Is there anything else you need, John? No, I think I'm gonna hit the road pretty soon. Speaking of which, I was pretty lost when I found this place. I don't really know which direction I'm supposed to go now. Mike smiled. Well, that depends on where you want to get to. He started to say something else and then paused as if he decided against it. When he spoke again, it was obviously on a different thought. If you continue on for a few miles down this road, you'll come to a four-way intersection. Take a right, and that'll get you back to the highway. There's a gas station just before the entrance ramp. You have enough gas to make it there. I didn't know how he knew I had enough gas to make it to the station, but I had a hunch he would end up being right. I stood up from the table and extended my hand. Thanks, Mike. You've got a very special place here. He took my hand and shook it. You're welcome, John. Good luck with your journey. And with that, he turned and walked away. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining for today's reading. Be well, be safe, be healthy. I'll see you tomorrow.